What's up, everybody? Once again, back with another video for a top weapon loadout, or top weapon video. We had our loadout video last week. We just had our long range AR and SMG video, and now we're gonna do our close range or SMG video. I gotta say close range, or it's really an SMG video because, as I said before, and I'll say a million times, don't use shotguns, they're corny, and I do not promote the use of a shotgun. That all being said, let's go ahead and just jump into my top 10 SMGs. Okay, number 10. It's a gun that I don't really love, but for the same reason as the Fin, I have to put it on this list. It has one of the fastest, if not the fastest, close range time to kill of any SMG, and that's the Modern Warfare AUG SMG. Now, it's faster than the OTS, it's faster than the MP5, which makes it, I believe, the fastest SMG up close, but the problem is it is awfully slow. It is horribly slow. It is tortoise slow. It's slowed ADS, it's got slow movement, and it all gets made worse by the fact that you have to put a 5.56 60 round drum on it. 5.56, if you don't know, is the AR and LMG ammo that is used in Warzone. And because of it being so slow, you get it built for ADS speed, really. You can't really do much for the movement speed like you can with Cold War weapons, so we build this really for ADS speed. So if you want to help your ADS a little bit, you could go a different suppressor other than monolithic. And by the way, this is J-God's build. I pulled this straight from his video, but I have to include this gun. So you get the best damage range and you get sound suppression with the monolithic. You could go tactical, you could go lightweight suppressor, and you still get the sound suppression. And in fact, the lightweight doesn't even hurt your ADS. But what it does hurt is damage range. And tactical suppressor hurts your ADS anyways. So you just go with monolithic suppressor, get the best damage range you can. And because we're going for ADS speed here, that means we run no barrel. But it's got the 5.56 rounds, it's got the monolithic suppressor, so that's decent on the damage range. And so we go tac laser, because tac laser is going to give you the best ADS speed, as well as giving you aiming stability and aim walking steadiness. You could go 5 milliwatt laser, but it doesn't help the really slow ADS, and this gun's not super great on hipfire. Then you go CQB cone, because it's another aim down sight speed. It does hurt the aiming stability, but tac laser helps that. The hollow helps walking movement speed, and the FSS heavy stock pro helps aiming stability, but like I said, we're going purely for ADS here, which is once again why we go stippled grip tape. We could go rubberized for recoil control because we're not doing an undergrip, but an underbarrel, but that doesn't help ADS the way stipple does, and neither does the granulated grip tape. And then we go 60 round drum. It does help the damage, like I said, and it helps the range, like I said, because it's the 5.56 ammo. And you could go 30, but 30 just isn't quite enough, and you're going to find yourself running out of bullets. So now you got to go. Well, now we got to run sleight of hand. And it just becomes a whole mess. And then you got to drop another attachment, and this thing is already slow as it is. So you go to 60. The 30 doesn't hurt your ADS. So if you're doing solos, duos, go for 30. But anything outside of that, including rebirth, go for the 60. Just deal with the ADS and just pre-aim when you have to. Like I said, there's no under barrel because we're focused purely on ADS, and it's close range. So it's going to be as good as it's going to be at ADS speed here, and it's close range. So hopefully you can just hit target. It doesn't have super crazy recoil. So from 9, we move on to a classic that actually has a very competitive and one of the better up-close TTKs. It just doesn't compete in the Cold War movement. It doesn't quite compete in the top of the TTKs. And it's not as good at hip firing as a gun that we're about to get to on this list, and that's the Modern Warfare MP7. The MP7 is going to be run as a monolithic suppressor, FSS recon barrel, tac laser, Merc 4 grip, 60 round mag. You could possibly drop the recon barrel. It does give you the best damage range, bullet velocity, and help with your recoil if you wanted to do something like a no stock to get faster movement speed and ADS speed, because it is a Cold War gun. I mean, a Modern Warfare gun. It's not going to have as good movement speed, and it's an SMG, so it's good ADS speed, but not as good as the Cold War. You could also drop the tac laser for that, but the tac laser is going to give you your best ADS speed attachment, so you got to keep the tac laser. If you don't mind controlling the recoil, you could also consider dropping the Merc 4 grip for the no stock attachment, but I think you absolutely have to run monolithic suppressor and 60 round mag. You can kind of play with the rest yourself. You could drop tac laser for 5 milliwatt and get better hip fire, but I'm not someone who really hip fires, so I go with the tac laser. From there, we move on to the Mac 10. People love this gun, which is part of the reason I include it, and I do acknowledge it has a good TTK, but it has a good TTK for the same reason the Fin does. It just runs out of ammo so fast because the TTK comes from the fire rate, and that ends up being my problem. Don't get me wrong, solos, duos, Mac 10's great, but I play trios, quads, rebirth. Even Iron Trials, this thing struggles because its TTK comes from fire rate and not necessarily damage per bullet, and overall damage per mag is weak on this gun. So that's why it dropped all the way down to where it does. I know people love this gun. I'm just not a huge fan of it. And then we move on to the last Modern Warfare gun that's going to be on the list, and that's the Modern Warfare MP5. If you've been playing this game for more than a year, you know how loved this gun is. You probably love this gun as well. It's been nerfed, but it still shreds people. It's still got a good TTK. It's still the hipfire king, so it's definitely still worth running. There's little variations you could do here and there. Like, I think you have to run the Mountic Integral Suppressor. It gives you your best damage range and bullet velocity, as well as keeping you suppressed, and saves an attachment, so you have both a barrel and muzzle in one. Tac laser, you either go tac laser if you ADS like I do, or you go 5 milliwatt to give the best hipfire gun even better hipfire. Then you have Merc foregrip, 45 round mag, and F-Tac collapsible stock. That helps your movement speed and your ADS speed, which you desperately need the movement speed to compete with Cold War guns, and there's nothing else that gives you movement speed in any of these stocks. You can drop the stock, though, if you're going to go sleight of hand. That's the only way I drop the stock. Otherwise, I run it just like this, except for maybe a 5 mil laser. Just you need sleight of hand because you only got a 45 round mag, and it was nerfed, like I said, a couple times, so its damage per mag isn't great, and you need the quicker reload. So from there, we move on to the Tech 9. The Tech 9 has a good TTK, it's got really good mobility, it's a Cold War gun, so ADS fast, move around fast. Like I said, it's got a good time to kill, but my problem is it's not silenced. It's got the weird 3 different fire modes depending on the muzzle, and like I said before, that gives you position concealment, but not sound suppression. So sound suppression keeps you off the minimap. Position concealment makes it so the blip on the radar for enemies is just less amount of time. So that's why it moves all the way down to where it does. Otherwise, it'd probably be a little bit higher on this list. And it's going to be a typical loadout, task force barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Bruiser Grip, and 48 round mag is the biggest mag. You can try the fast mag if you want. It doesn't really hurt the ADS all too much because it's an SMG and it hurts on, I think it's 10%. But 10% of the quick ADS is still not a lot of time added. Full auto repeater is a must. It gives you the best time to kill, even though the damage isn't as good. You could drop either the laser or the underbarrel for your preferred stock, but this is how I run my SMGs now. So from there, we move on up to 5. And it's the Bullfrog. The Bullfrog, I go back and forth on where I want to put it. I could switch it from 4 because of the iron sights on number 3. If that's your hint for number 3, I could switch it all the way up to number 3. I think 3, 4, and 5 here, this being 5, are interchangeable kind of depending on your preferences. The Bullfrog I still absolutely love. It's still a good gun. It just doesn't compete in the time to kill with my 1 and 2 guns, and if you hit the correct shots with the number 3 gun. But it still has a very good time to kill. And it's going to be Grease Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Bruiser Grip, and 65 round mag. Now here's kind of an exception to the SMGs where you don't really need to run a magazine because it comes with 50 as its base mag. I like to run the 65 just to have the extra 15 bullets. You can go all the way to 85, but I don't want to hurt my ADS when I'm pushing in buildings, so I stick with the 65. If you're good with 50, I would recommend dropping 50 for either the PKM stock or the skeletal stock, depending on your preferences. But I've found it better just to have the 15 extra bullets and focus on overall movement speed with Bruiser Grip and Tiger Team Spotlight. So from there, 4, like I said, you can switch 3, 4, and 5, depending on preferences, in my opinion. 4 is going to be the PPSH. It doesn't have as good a time to kill as like the Bullfrog or any of the guns that are above it on this list. But what it does have is the second longest damage drop-off of all the viable SMGs. I use viable because I think the nail gun still beats it out despite the nail gun's nerfs. But the nail gun is just not viable. You can't do attachments, so it's only got 20 rounds, and it's just a mess to try to use. But the PPSH has a better time to kill than the Milano, which has a longer damage range. And it, like I said, it's got like the second or third damage range, depending on where the nail guns actually fall into. And it's a typical build of Grease Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Bruiser Grip, 55 round drum. And like always, you could drop the underbarrel or the laser and choose your favorite stock if you'd like. But that's really the only changes I would make. You could go to the 71 round drum, just like you could go to 85 on the Bullfrog. But I think 55 is enough. Anything less than 55, I would jump up to the 71. But because 55 is the first mag, I go with the 55. Then 3 is the Lapa. The Lapa is the gun I'm saying you could switch all the way down to 5. For 2 reasons. One, it's quick time to kill, which is competitive with the OTS and the MP5 and the AUG. That time to kill only comes from hitting upper chest, neck, and head shots, and you have to hit those shots. If you hit chest and stomach and limb shots, the TTK drops dramatically. It's way less consistent, and you're going to lose to just about every gun on this list. The second reason being the terrible iron sights. And I kind of gotten used to it, but if somebody drops shots, I just lose sight of them. If somebody is just a little bit too far to the left or the right, I lose sight of them. So that means if you want to run it best possible, and I actually need to change the script, if you want to run it best possible statistically, you have to deal with those iron sights, otherwise you lose an attachment. So you have the Agent Suppressor, the Rifled Barrel, the Tiger Team Spotlight, the Bruiser Grip, and the Stanag 55 round. For me personally, I'm keeping the laser and the underbarrel, unless you want to switch one out for a stock. You have to keep the mag, and you have to keep the Agency Suppressor. And the only place that I really feel like you can play with this is with the barrel. The rifled hurts your damage range a little bit, drops it down to about 8 meters. The stock, if you wanted to run no barrel, which is how I would personally run it if I wanted to run an optic, is with no barrel. Then you drop that, and it goes to about 11 stock, and you can run what I would recommend, the Quick Dot LED or the Quick Flex LED for an optic, or whatever your preferred optic is, or you could go to the Ranger Barrel to help your effective damage range and bullet velocity. And this is good if you're running with an LMG. If you're a little more of a passive player, or you're running in a sniper support, I would consider the Ranger Barrel over the rifled, unless you're dropping a barrel for an optic, which is another recommendation I have because the iron sights are awful on this gun. That being said, SMG number 2 and SMG number 1, for all I care, you could switch 1 or 2. I can't decide which one's 1 or 2. I had a hard time knowing which one to place, but number 2 is the OTS. You should know by now what number 1 is based off of just watch streamers and what guns they run. If you pay attention to my videos, you know what number 1 is based off of my previous videos and being what number 2 is. But number 2 is the OTS. It's got one of the fastest time to kills up close, only getting beaten out by like the M19, the Modern Warfare AUG, maybe the MP5 beats it out. Now the MP5 and the OTS are extremely similar in time to kill. But that being said, it's a typical build: Grew Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Bruiser Grip, and I actually run the Fast Mag on this one. This is one exception where I run the Fast Mag because it's only 40. Its damage per mag is pretty strong, but it's only 40, and it's a barrel stuffing gun, so you're going to be right in people's faces, and you need that quicker reload. If it was 50, 55, I wouldn't run the Fast Mag, but I've been experimenting, and I've liked the OTS Fast Mag just because I've been trying to up my aggressiveness. But there's nothing wrong. You could also run the 40 mag. They're not going to be quite as aggressive, but I've just liked the 40 round Fast Mag a little bit better. And like I said, drop underbarrel or laser for your favorite stock if that's your preference. Number 1, Cold War MP5. I had to put that number 1 just because I have the most time with it. I just have a more comfortable feel than I do with the OTS, and they're about the same. They have about the same damage drop off. They have very similar TTKs. The biggest difference is the 50 round drum, and like I mentioned on the OTS, I don't run. I run the Fast Mag because it's only 40. But if it was a 50 or 55, I would run the regular 50 or 55 round mag. And the exception on the Cold War MP5 that's different than everywhere else is not running a barrel. I've thought about this with the OTS. I might start experimenting with that with the OTS. But the Task Force Barrel really clogs up your iron sights, and it doesn't do that on the OTS, which is why the OTS still receives a barrel. But both of them only receive about 0.9 to about 1.1 meters of extra range. And if you're pushing, being aggressive, and you have to barrel stuff anyways, that's not really too much. And with it not giving you as clean of an iron sight on the MP5, that's why the MP5 loses the barrel, whereas the OTS doesn't. But I might start experimenting with the OTS not having a barrel and running it built like this, where you have the Agency Suppressor, the Tiger Team Spotlight, the Bruiser Grip, the 50 round mag, and the Raider stock. So you get overall best movement speed. You could also put the SAS Combat stock here instead if that's your preference. I just prefer the quicker sprint to fire time of the Raider stock. But either one, depending on your preference, both work in this build. And that's really my top SMGs. Like I said, you could switch a couple around. You could switch 3, 4, and 5, depending on your preference, and the iron sights and how consistent you can hit head, chest, and neck shots. And then you could really switch 1 or 2 based off of preference. I can't decide on MP5 or OTS for 1 and 2. But with that all being said, I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for more. Tell me down below what your favorite SMGs are, why I'm right, why I'm wrong, whatever your feelings are towards my list. Let me know down below. But with that all being said, I also have my social medias linked in the description. But I'll see you in Verdansk and on Rebirth Island. Get frying. Have a good day. Bye.